Hello, I am Ramakant Prasad, Assistant Professor in SOS Computer Science and IT, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur. In this video, I am going to discuss Unit 5, File and Device Management of Operating System of class MSc IT second semester. So, in Unit 5, I am going to discuss protection and security mechanism in operating system, in which I am going to discuss principle of protection, domain structure, access matrix, access control, and the security problems. In distributed system, I am going to discuss about introduction of distributed system and the various types of distributed operating systems. Let us see the introduction. So, introduction part, we have to define protection and security mechanism. So, in every modern operating system, the protection and security mechanism are well and precisely implemented to prevent all kind of interferences. These interferences may be internal or may be external. So, if the interference to the operating system is internal, then it comes under the protection, and if all the threats are external, external means from the outside the operating system, we will discuss in the next slide. So, interference may be internal or external of the system with use of file or memory or CPU and other resources. Other resources means some kind of printer, scanners are also there. The interference in resource utilization is a serious threat in an operating system. How to utilize our resources with proper security and protection. The fourth point is the nature of the threat depends upon the nature of resources. Which kind of nature is? Some resources are very important and some resources are least important. So we have to protect the most important resources first. We give our priority to protect our resources and the manner in which it is used. What kind of manners it is going to be used. In this session, we will discuss about the protection and security. Information stored in especially in files, and we will also cover introduction of distributed system. Suppose I am taking user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4, user 5. All users are within the operating system authorized users, or users are authorized users. Okay? So here user 1 and user 2 are authorized or allowed to use the resource R1. Similarly, user 3 and user 4 are allowed to use the resource R2, and user 5 allowed to use the resource R3. So these are known as protection. So here is a protection between, these are the protection. Okay. So suppose user 3 wants to access the resource R1. So this such kind of mechanism is handled by the protection. So here user 3 cannot use the resource R1 because this is under the protection mechanism. So this comes under the protection. For the security point of view, suppose there is another resource, another user. Suppose there is another user, user 6. The user 6 is not part of the operating system. It is not part of the organization. So if user 6 want to access the resource R1, then this comes under the external threat. Right? So since user 6 is not a part of the operating system, it is not authorized to the operating system user, and user 6 want to access the resource R1, so such kind of threats comes under external threats, and all external threats are handled by the security. So in this slide, protection, I am going to define the protection. Protection is a mechanism. Protection is a mechanism. Protection is a mechanism to guard users' data and program from internal threats. From internal threats. Internal is very important. That means all users are part of the operating system. That means all users are part of the operating system. All users are the part of operating system. Okay, but there is a protection mechanism between these users. Third point is internal threats are involved. We have already discussed here. Example, suppose some user 1, user 2, user 3, user 1 and user 2 are assigned to access resource R1 and user 3 assigned to resource R2. Suppose user U3 tries to access resource R1, then it comes under protection mechanism. Let us discuss about security. So in security, I am going to discuss about the external threat. First point is, so security is a mechanism. Security is a mechanism to guard users' data or program against interferences, against external interferences. Here external word is important. External interferences by external entities. External entities means which are not part of the operating system. By external entities. External entities, right? So these are the unauthorized users. We can say that external entities are unauthorized users. Unauthorized users. Given authorization means what? Which are given the user ID and password. User ID and password. Always remember that authorization means through the user ID and password someone log into your operating system or your organization. Such user is authorized user. Those who have no user ID and password and he tries to access your operating system, such users are under the unauthorized users, or we can say that these are the external entities of the organization or operating system. So here we take example. Suppose E1 user 1 has authorized to use resource R1 and user 2 has authorized to use resource R2. Suppose there is a external unauthorized user U3 try to access the resource R2. So such security mechanism is handled by the security mechanism. A goal of the protection. What is the goal of the protection? There are various goals of the protection. First is safe sharing. Safe sharing is very important of the memory addresses. There are two types of memory addresses. One is logical address, another is physical address. Logical address space and physical address space. So we have to protect them. So we apply the access restriction on there with the stated various policies. There are various policies through which we can apply the access restriction, and access restriction provide the safety of our memory address spaces. Next point is increase the reliability of the shared resources. So how can we increase the reliability of shared resources? So by detecting the errors, by removing the errors or detecting the errors that the interferences between the components of the system. So if we detect the errors or we can detect the problems between the components of the subsystem, we can improve the reliability of our system. Next point is fair resource uses. Okay, fair, it means the protection oriented system can only distinguish between the authorization and unauthorization. If some user are authorized and authorized user has access to use the resources, then it is fair. But if some users are not authorized and he access the resource, it is not fair, right? So the fair resources use, we can distinguish between the authorized use and unauthorized uses of the resources. So for that we need a protection mechanism to differentiate between authorized and unauthorized uses of the system. This is the given in the Galvin, page number 626. Here the most important point is what is the difference between mechanism and policies. Mechanism determine how something will be done, how we can handle, that comes under the mechanism. But policies decide what will be done, what you have to do. So there are various types of policies through which we can protect our system. So here we focus on the what and here we focus on the how we have to do for that and what we have to do for that. So always keep in mind that these are the differences between mechanism and policies. In next slide we are going to discuss about principle of protection, that is important for your exam point of view. So principle of protection is depends upon the principle of least privilege. That is very important. Principle of least privilege. What is the meaning of least privilege? Okay, so the main guiding principle of the protection is principle of least privilege. So here is defined least. It indicates programs, users, systems should be given just enough privilege to perform their task. So only the required privilege is given to the program or user for performing their successful task. Okay, so we can say that minimum privilege is given to the user or program to perform their task successfully. So in an operating system, the principle of least privilege implements its feature, programs, system calls and data structure so that the failure or compromise of a computer does minimum damage. Suppose system failure or system compromised by the intruder and allows the minimum damage to be done. Okay, so therefore the principle of least privilege is very important. This can reduce the damage of the system in case of natural or in case of external threat on your system. For example, creating a separate account for each user. Why separate account? Because each user has different privilege. So if you have to create a different account, then you can assign different privilege to your user, just providing the privilege to the that users might need. Okay, some system implemented role based access control. What is meaning of role based access control? According to their role, we have provide their privileges, we have provide their access privilege to the system to provide this functionality. Another example is we are comparing the Windows 2000 and Solaris operating system. Let us see the difference between user, process and procedure. So each user has many certain domains. Like example, user 1 and user 1 has R1 domain, user 2 has R2 domains. Okay, so the domain for the user 1 is R1. This means resource works as a domain. We can consider here resource as a domain, right? So in this case, user 2 has resource R2. So R2 has a domain for the user. Okay. Here concept is domain switching. What is domain switching? So suppose user changes, user 1 changes from the organization, and new user 3 joined to the resource. So we have to change the new user E1, new user U3 for the resource R1. Okay, so R1 is a domain and we have to change it to the user U3 because user 1 has already left the organization. Second point is process. A procedure. Procedure. It is a process. Process can also be a domain. Each process is like a domain. Okay. For example, it is a process, not procedure here. It is a process. For example, process P1 authorized to use resource R1 and R2. Here process P1 is is used to define the domain. Suppose process P1 has changed, so we can change the we have to switch the domain to the new process. Process P1 can access the R1 and R2. Last one is procedure. Procedure can also be used as a domain. We can also consider procedure as a domain. The various local variables are used to define the domain of the resources. In next slide, we will see the domain structure. What are the types of domain structure? So what is the domain? Here we can precisely define the domain. It is a set of access rights. What is domain? Domain is a set of access rights in case of operating system. But in case of mathematics, domain is a set of all the variable of the x. Independent variable का जो set होता है वही domain होता है in the calculus. But here domain is a set of access rights. So what is access right? Access right has two parameters, access name and right assets. So here right set is a subset of all the valid operations that can be performed on the object, like this. Look example. The domain D1, domain D2 and domain 3. There are three types of domain are here. Domain is an area in which you can access. So these are the area of the domain 1, this is the domain 2 and this is the domain 3. So here they look, this is the first parameter, this is what? Object name. This is the object name. So object 3, object 1, object 2 and this is the right set. Right set here is a read and write. There are two permissions are here. Two modes are here, read mode and write mode, and they are within the set. Set means curly braces. We are writing something, anything on the set. This is the set. Okay. So here read and write is under a set called write set. So these are two parameters. Object 3 having the two mode, read mode and write mode. Similarly, in the object 1, it has read and write also. Object 2 has execute. So first of all, keep in mind that access right has two parameters. So in next slide, we are going to see what is the access matrix. Okay, access matrix is used to implement protection model. The protection model is implemented through the access matrix, and we know that matrix has rows and columns. Here row represent the domains and column represent the object. Very careful. So this is the row, this is the domain 1, D1, D2, D3, D4, and this is the column represented by object. This is file 1, file 2, file 3 and printer also. These are the resources and these are the domains. So here domains are, there are three types of domain: user, process and procedure, and object is like resources. Okay, so this diagram indicates the access matrix. This is the access matrix in which suppose D1, D2, D3, D4 are the domain and these are the files are the object. So the cross point of domain, this is the read. So this is the read mode is defined here. The domain 1 allowed to read the file F1. Similarly, domain D1 can read the file F3. Here is a nothing, here is a nothing, here is a nothing. It means that D2 has no right to access F2 and F1. But domain D2 has a right to access the printer because printing here. Clear? So next domain is D3. D3 has access right to read the file F2. D3 has execution right of the file F3. It means D3 can execute the file F3. Similarly, in D4 can read and write the file F1 and D4 can read and write file F3. So such kind of mechanism, the access mechanism is implemented in the access matrix. So the structure is like a matrix. So and this matrix gives the permission of access of a particular file. So its name is access matrix. So always keep in mind that access matrix has two parameters I and j to give the access of a particular resource. For example, suppose access 1, 1 gives the read access permission of the file F1 through the one. This is the one, first row, one row and one column. This is the 1 comma 1, right? So through this we can D1 has permission to access the file F1. The access matrix design a separate mechanism from policies and mechanism. Here operating system provide access matrix and rules under the mechanism, and it also ensures that matrix is only manipulated by authorized agent and that rule are strictly enforced. But in policies, user dictates policies like who can access what object and what mode. Here mode is read write mode. This is the mode, and these are the domains. Okay, and these are the objects. So there is a difference between mechanism and policies. I have also discussed in the previous slide. What is the access control? Access control. So in this slide we are going to see the access control mechanism. So user 1 has role 1 and has two privilege 1 and 2, and going to access the process. So protection can be applied to the non file resource also. Oracle Solidus 10 provide the role based control to implement the least privilege. The least privilege is the right to execute system call or use an option within a system call, and can be assigned to processes the various activities by the authorized user. User assigned role granting the access to the privilege and the programs. Enabled role via the password and login and its privilege similar to the access matrix. In next slide we are going to see the case study of protection in Java 2. So in Java 2 the protection mechanism is handled by the JVM, Java Virtual Machine, and the class is assigned to protection domain and it is loaded by the JVM. The protection domain indicate that domain operations the class can be or cannot perform. If the library method is invoked that perform the privileged operation, the stack is inspected to ensure the operation can be performed by the library. Generally Java is a loaded time and runtime. Load time and runtime check the enforce the type security. Therefore Java is known as a strongly checked language. The classes effectively encapsulate and protect data and method from the other classes, that is known as encapsulations. Okay, for that we use the class mechanism to protect our functions, methods and data both in the Java. Here we are going to discuss about security mechanism of operating system. So what is security? All the external security threats, and attacks comes under the security. The cryptography and authentication. Cryptography means encryption, decryption. Authentication means user ID and password. Hashing is a mathematical function that can be used for the security point of view. And firewall, we know that everyone is a firewall, familiar with the firewall, are used for the security mechanism in operating system. Okay, some threats are like theft information, unauthorized modification of the data, changes in the access matrix, which I've already discussed. Unauthorized destruction is also there for loss of the data or modification of the data, alternation of the data. So such a kind of security we will going to discuss in the next slide, or we are focus on the some limited security mechanisms here. The security problems, this is the important for your exam point of view. If resources are used and accessed as it was designed under all the circumstances, if all the resources are accessed and designed under all the circumstances, then we can say that the system is secure. Okay, security violations means what? Misuse of the system can be categorized as intentional or accidental. Intentional means malicious code, attacker by the intrusion. Someone want to attack your system, that is the intentional or malicious. Accidental by natural disasters, the accident happens, right? So we use some common terms in security. First is intruders, that is the crackers, that is the intentional user or very smart users then can use to access the security, break the security mechanism for their own benefit. Such attempt is known as breach security. Another is threat potential security violations known as threat. Attack is attempt to breach security. Attack can be accidental or malicious. So it is easier to protect accidental misuse than the malicious. Accidental misuse is very easy to protect the system than the malicious. Malicious is very tough to protect. It is very challengeable to every country in the world, right? It is a continuous process to improve your system by the intentional or malicious attack. Security violations categories like confidentiality. This is the important. For example, point of view, confidentiality means unauthorized reading of the data. Integrity means unauthorized modification of the data, and availability means unauthorized destruction of the data. So this is a very confusing term. Study it carefully. Confidentiality means unauthorized reading of data. Integrity means unauthorized modification of data, and availability means unauthorized destruction of data. Theft of service means unauthorized use of resources. If unauthorized use of resources comes under the theft of service. Lots of examples are there. We will see later in the network security chapter. The denial of service does prevent the legitimate uses of the data. Denial of service. In distributed system, in next chapter is distributed system, in which we are going to discuss about basic about distributed system, like introduction and features of distributed operating system, and various types of operating system like network operating system and distributed operating system. In network operating system, local operating system at each computer. Here are different operating system. Each computer has own operating system. Each computer or node has its own operating system, but in distributed operating system, a single operating system is used by all the computers. All the computers use the single OS, right? So this is the major difference between the network operating system and distributed operating system, the single OS and multiple OS. So each computer has its own OS. Okay, so here atomicity is more. Here atomicity is more because every computer has its own operating system and each computer has control on their own device. Here all OS control all the nodes, and it is a centralized control on all the computers. So here anatomy is less. Anatomy means it is not independent. All the computers are not independent. Here all computers are almost independent. Okay, so multiple system images are here. Same concept is there, multiple, because every computer uses the different operating system. Here single system images are there. Okay, the key concept is here different operating system are used. Different in the sense that local operating system as each computer are used. Yep, here single operating system is used. Okay, distributed system. What is distributed system? It is a collection of loosely coupled processors interconnected by a communication network. Processor variously called node, computer, or machine, or host. Here site is important. What is site? Site is the location of the processor. Where is a processor? Okay, the location of processor is known as site. Site A, site B, and site C. These are the processors, and all are connected to the network. Okay, so here generally server has a resource, a client node at different site we want. So what is distributed system? Let us see the structure precisely. So suppose this is the interconnection network. Here is a word is a interconnection, interconnected. So this is the interconnected network, and these are the computer 1. Suppose this is the computer 1 connected to this. This is the computer 2 connected with this. This is the computer 3 connected with this, and this is the computer 4 connected with this IM. So in distributed system, all computer uses the single operating system. And all computer works together for a single task. So here this is known as structure. Every computer has its own memory, local memory. Only it has its local memory. it's also memory here, it's memory here, it's memory here. Okay, so such kind of system is known as distributed system, in which various computers are connected through the interconnection network, and all the computer runs a single operating system. Each computer has its own memory, but there is a common single operating system in each the devices. But in the network operating system, all computer has different operating systems. Okay, all are connected through the same style, but each computer has different operating system and different memory. This is the major difference between distributed system. Here, processor is known as site A, this is site B, site C, and site D. So site location is the processor, and all the sites are connected through the network. In next slide, we see the reason for the distributed system. The reason is resource sharing. For resource sharing, we use the distributed system. Sharing and printing the files at remote sites, processing information in distributed databases, and using remote specialized hardware devices. Suppose there is a cloud concept, there is a very powerful machine on the remote server. We can if we can access that machine from our home. So computation speed up. For the second reason is computation speed up. We want to speed up our calculation, or we want to share the resources, hardware or software both. For that we need the distributed system for load sharing and job migration. We further see what is the job migration. Third is reliability, because all computers are connected together for performing a single task. Suppose one computer is failed, then other computer can perform our task. So here detect and recover the site failure, function transfer, reintegration failed sites, etc. So it is very secured. Suppose lots of computers are connected together. If some computers are failed, they can, suppose this is the fail, we can perform our task through the remaining 3 computers. Since all computers are connected through the interconnection network, so it is a benefit for that. Therefore, we use the distributed system for the more reliability of the task. Last one is a communication, message passing. Here in distributed system, communication is happened through the message passing. In next slide, let us see the network operating system. Here users are aware multiplicity of the machines means more machine can perform more tasks. The access to resource of the various machine is done. Remote login into the appropriate remote machine like Telnet, SSH, remote desktop, Microsoft Windows, transferring data from remote machine to local machine by FTP, file transfer protocol. Users must change the paradigm, establish a session, given a network based command. It is a more like your computer network lab, in which multiple computers are connected together and you can share your work to each other. In the distributed operating system, users are not aware of multiplicity of the machine, because all the system work as a single entity, single device, because single operating system works on the multiple devices. To access the remote resources similar to the access the local resources. Here there is we can't feel the difference between remote resource or local resource. Every resource works as a local resource. Data migration, that is the important part of the distributed operating system. Transfer data by transferring entire or partial portion of the necessary task to the computer, appropriate computer. Okay, so this is known as data migration, means moving the task from one computer to another computer according to their need. Such kind of activities or mechanism are called data migration, right? Similarly, there is a process migration. Suppose some programs we have to migrate from one computer to another computer, known as process migration. Next point is computation migration. Computation means calculation. Transfer of the computational task from one device machine to another machine via remote procedure calls known as RPC, or via message passing. Such kind of mechanism are called computation migration. Consider the World Wide Web like example of the distributed operating system, www. Doubt, you can write me through the email ID. Thank you very much.